It's Friday, February 28th, just following up on the SPY after buying some puts here on this red reversal bar. It tried to follow through a little bit lower as I kind of anticipated. I was able to scale out and set up a no-risk trade. And I'm not surprised at all that it kind of came to the midpoint of this whole first move up, and now we're getting a big green, bar back to the upside. So on this trade, I decided just to kind of take a base hit gain on the second half, on the first half of the position. I bought the 595 puts at 1013. I scaled at 11, described in the previous video. And when it came right back to my entry point, I exited the rest at 1017. So a very small gain here. Frankly, my instincts were, when it came down to kind of this area, just to kind of take a base hit gain overall on the trade. Overall today, it started up and there was a little base hit gain to the upside, and my instinct was, that it wasn't going to follow through much higher. And then on this move down, again, I'm not surprised at all that it's not gaining immediate momentum to the downside to test those lows. Anything's possible by the end of the day, but to me, this is enough of a move in the morning, both up and down, that I'm kind of out of the SPY for the rest of the day. I don't really care what happens. It's possible we're making kind of a secondary push to the highs of the day in here, but if we do that, that's only going to get us to the midpoint of that prior bar, so we could fail up there, and yet we're not in a position right now where we're really coming down to test those lows of the day in any way that I see. It's possible, like I said, if we would come down here more red and then have a pause that couldn't, rally back up, it might make one more push to the lows of the day, but that's a long way from unfolding. So I just don't know what's going to happen here for the rest of the day, both in terms of the context and the structure that's unfolding. I don't see it as a strong enough momentum move to make one push, pause, second push up to the upside. I don't see the failure to the downside. I know the big picture context is closing the weekly chart red, probably. I don't know how red it's going to close by the end of the day, but either way, we're kind of expecting the lows to be tested next week. Just a question, do we have to have a couple of updates? We'll probably end up with like a gap in here that maybe the market wants to try to move up early in the week and then roll over. Somehow we'll probably test that low. I don't know if it's going to happen early or late in the week, but we'll watch for that. We're going to have to see how this weekly bar closes. At the moment, there's still the signs of higher highs all the way to lower lows down here until this weekly chart reverses. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on. I'm going to know where the open of this week was obviously up here. We stayed below that all week long. So into next week, I'll know where the opening price is, and I'll kind of monitor that in terms of context. Are we reversing to the upside, or are we gonna, eventually, even if we start up, come below the open and stay red and test those lows and maybe go to those lows? So all those kind of things are unfolding into next week. This is just a pause bar at the moment here that's not really building momentum, although by the end of the day we might come all the way down, who knows. And and anything's possible in terms of on a Friday how this chart wants to end. So I just see choppiness here in the morning. I gave it a shot to the upside, didn't build momentum, gave it a quick shot to the downside, not building momentum, and that's how it goes sometimes, especially when you're at exhaustion risk on a bunch of days to the downside. Not surprising at all. At some point, you're going to pause in here before making a move one way or the other. So that's my recap here on the SPY this morning, and we'll see how this daily bar closes. We'll kind of go into next week with the expectations of continuing lower until this weekly chart reverses the upside. And for today, you have a little bit of an up structure in play. That who knows, where it may go if it decides to try to take out those highs and follow through a little bit. We still have to eat into that big red bar, so keep that in mind. So anyway, that's it for trading for me today. Not bad, having a little basic gain to the upside and a very small gain here to the downside. And now, like I said, just want to watch it and kind of go into next week with some of those key, with that context in mind.